The May 20th, 2013 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Baroth. Here. Chairman Hanna is excused. Mr. Willie Lightfoot. Present. Mr. John Lightfoot. Here. Mr. McCann. Here. Mr. Michike.
Here.
Mr. Rocco. Here. Mr. Yolovich. Here. President Adair.
Here. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address this committee at this time? Seeing none. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the April 22nd, 2013 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Paul Johnson, Associate Planner of the Planning and Development Department, will now give a brief overview of the 2014-2019 Capital Improvement Program as it pertains to the Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All legislators should have a copy of the County Executive's proposed 2014 to 2019 Capital Improvement Program. We have followed our typical process in preparing this for submission to the legislature. It has been reviewed and recommended by the Monroe County Planning Board, and they did hold one public information meeting to gather public input and comments on the program before they recommended it. You'll also find in the front of the book the priority listing of projects for the capital budget, which is another exercise that the Planning Board undertakes during their review. This is a plan for improvements to county facilities over the next 6 years. There are no funding approvals associated with this capital improvement program. That would happen in the fall when the capital budget is prepared for the first year of the program. That would be the 2014 list of projects, and that will be submitted as part of the county operating budget in the fall. The legislature is required to conduct a public hearing on the capital improvement program, and hopefully you will schedule that at your June meeting and hold that hearing in July and adopt the capital program at that point. There are two program areas I would like to briefly summarize for the committee today. The first would be the Sheriff's Program, which you'll find on page 60 of the document. This is a list of projects to be undertaken by the Sheriff's Office, and 4 of the 5 projects have appeared in previous programs and are scheduled as they have been in the past couple of years. There is one new project that's appearing in 2019, which is the Sheriff's Marine Vessel Replacement, which is designed to replace an aging boat that is a part of the Sheriff's Marine Patrol Unit. And then on page 63, you'll find the Public Safety Services program. 2 of the projects here have appeared previously. The Public Safety Training Center, although the funding for this has been adjusted a little bit, it's lower than it was in last year's program, and it's actually been spaced out every other year in its schedule, so the second phase has moved out a year from last year's program. And there is one new project that you'll see right at the top of the table there, the Next Generation 911 phone system, scheduled in 2014. And this is a project to replace all of the phones at the 911 center, and this is to comply with current federal regulations. So that, Mr. Chairman, is a brief summary, and we'd either take questions now or at the point that the committee takes us up on their agenda.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is new business.
We'll take questions.
Yeah, because it's the next one up.
All right, referral 13-153.
Move it, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator McCann. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, my first question is about the Sheriff's Marine vessel that's going to be replaced. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. What are we doing with the old boat? Is there any way we can recoup some monies by selling it or whatnot? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Sir.
Lieutenant John Ott, Lieutenant of Special Operations, through the chair. Historically, what we've done with the aging vessels is they go on to auction and the money returns into the general fund, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Legislator Broth?
Thank you. Through the Chair to the Administration, I have only one question. You mentioned that the Planning Board had a public hearing. Were there any comments or commentary related to the public safety items?
Through the chair, no, there were not. There were two questions about two highway projects.
Fair enough. And I regret I actually have one last question. Through the Chair to the Administration, do we know which newspaper is going to be used to publish the legal notice of the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, it would be in one of the official newspapers of the county, either the Daily Record or the Rochester Business Journal.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-154.
Moved by Legislator McCann, second by Legislator Rocco. Any discussion? Legislator Broth.
Thank you. This question actually relates to the next three referrals, but I'll just ask in the context of this referral. That is, through the Chair of the Administration, is the county going to be reimbursed for 100% of the costs for this service, or is this instead merely a set sum that it might actually cost the county more?
Through the chair, Jen Summers, attorney to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. This is a chargeback agreement where the amount of hours and manpower is calculated up front. It's the client, in this case the Alzheimer's Association or J.P. Morgan Chase, reimburses 100% of the overtime costs involved with our deputies helping with these events. So it's 100% reimbursed.
Thank you. But through the Chair of the Administration, is it possible that our actual expenses could be higher than $8,000 in this case?
The way that the contracts are worded, it's if there needs to be an upward or downward modification based on the total number of hours, then we can modify the price minimally. But no, actually, it's an hour-for-hour chargeback.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-155. Authorize a
Moved by Legislator Rocco, second by Legislator Yolovich. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Item carries. Next item? Any opposed? No.
Referral 13-156.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, second by Legislator Rocco. Any discussion? Legislator Broth?
Thank you. Through the Chair of the Administration, I know that this event is actually scheduled for tomorrow. Is there any particular reason why this was referred to the committee in this cycle, not the previous cycle? It's just, 1 day's notice.
Through the chair, this was a case where the provider of the event communicated with our community services too late to get it into the last referral cycle, no other reason.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-157.
Moved by Legislator McCann, second by Legislator Rocco. Any discussion? Legislator Broth?
Thank you. Through the Chair of the Administration, this is a similar question, except that these dates are actually in the past. Was the request, through the Chair of the Administration, requested too late, or is this a after-the-fact agreement?
Through the chair, initially when Wegmans contacted the Sheriff's Office, it wasn't for the full complement of dates that now add up to the more than $5,000 to bring this to the ledge. It was once the deputies were there for a few weekends, they wanted more, and that's the reason for the late notice. It wasn't originally planned that it would be that many weekends. Originally, they thought maybe the first couple weekends after the East Avenue Wegmans was closed was all they would need, and what they found was that the traffic was getting worse and worse. So that's the reason for the late referral.
Thank you, that makes sense. And through the chair of the administration, one final question. Is it the case, and if it is, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I just wonder, can any private company make such a contract with the sheriff's office? Is that something that any private company can do? Or are the limitations upon that?
Through the chair, any private company, I'm sure, could approach the sheriff's office, but unless something involves traffic or things that affect the community as a whole, I don't know that the sheriff's office would necessarily agree to that.
Thank you.
These items that have come before you tonight are all items that affect on a large scale traffic and the safety and security of Monroe County.
That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-158.
Moved by legislator Rocco, second by legislator Yolovich. Any questions?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, could you just give us some idea what kind of, or what type of equipment they're going to be purchasing with this grant?
Through the chair, Bob Burns, I'm the acting public safety director, not to be confused with the incoming public safety director. Sam DeRosa, our fire coordinator, is on a call right now, and he just called me to say that he couldn't be here. What I can tell you is that, like the preceding three awards that this body accepted, it will be all equipment relating to those kinds of heavy rescues, those kinds of low frequency but very high risk rescue operations. I don't believe any large trucks or pieces of apparatus are purchased through this grant. What I did see is a number of oxygen canisters that are unique to the operations that these firefighters and EMS folks will provide, a number of attire, special operations suits, and a variety of other items that are used for those kinds of deep trench rescue operations.
Thank you, Acting Director Burns.
Legislator Lightfoot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make this statement. I'm very aware of what's going on with this particular grant. I think it's awesome. I think what it's going to help to increase time to get those special services to those type of scenes and emergencies. Currently, right now, with the mutual agreement that we have with the city and the county, sometimes there's lapses there. And so I think this is a move in the right direction for public safety, especially for people who find themselves entrenched in these type of situations. So I fully support this. I think this is great, and it's going to be a great thing for our community. Thank you.
Legislator Brock.
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I know that this is designed to create regional partnerships. With whom are we partnering on these purchases for heavy equipment? Through the chair.
Through the chair, there's actually a special operations work group that's been active for a number of years, and I just attended one of their functions. It is every department, including the Rochester Fire Department, all of the ambulance teams, all of our volunteer fire and rescue units, city, county, town, and village. So I believe it's pretty much everyone who's involved in this kind of rescue operation.
Okay, then through the chair of the administration, I am a little unclear on something then. And I'm not criticizing in any way, but this special operating working group is essentially an administrative entity where people get together and represent their home units. Is that correct?
Through the chair, I believe so. I could double check. I haven't read their minutes. As I said, I've attended one meeting, and I could tell you those were the people who were there. I can check further and let this body know what the specific work group's mission is.
Fair enough. But then through the chair of the administration, my concern is that the grant, it specifically states the grant is designed to promote regional partnerships using local agencies, which I think is great. But when I envisioned this, I was thinking, okay, if we're going to purchase heavy use items that you don't use very often, they would have to be housed somewhere, and then they would be called upon in need. And then that, in my view, would probably mean, I'll make this up, the sheriff's office has it, and the city of Rochester calls for it, and so the sheriff's office takes it to the site. And then that would be obviously collaboration. But I guess my question is, this equipment we're purchasing, is it being spread out among these agencies, or are we purchasing the equipment for the County of Monroe? How is this engendering this cooperation on the field is what I'm getting at.
Through the chair, I believe the large apparatus have already been purchased and approved by this body in the past, and they are housed in central locations, and just like our hazmat unit and some other units, they would be dispatched to whatever jurisdiction needs them at a given time.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-159.
Moved by Legislator Yolovich, second by Legislator McCann. Any discussion?
Just a couple. Where's the $10,000 difference between the grant and the contract? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration.
Through the chair, the $10,000 represents the annual amount that stays with county appropriations to pay for the work done primarily by our fiscal coordinator, who completes a very significant amount of work for the reentry grant. The rest of the money is all contracted with the Catholic Family Center.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, how successful has this program been in reducing recidivism?
Through the chair, when the reentry initiative began in 2006, felons returning from state prison were recidivating at rates of 40, 50, 60%, returning to our community, committing a new crime, and being violated by state parole officers. The numbers vary every month. The most recent figure I saw was in the 17 or 18% area, and some of those are not felony convictions, but new misdemeanors or technical violations of parole. So the numbers have clearly gone down. Oddly enough, that's not the measurement that the state uses for success. The measurement is individuals staying on parole, remaining in the community for a number of days within the reentry program. But we do certainly look at recidivism, and it's significantly lower.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, these next two questions I'll ask together, because if you don't have it, you can get it to me later. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, is how many people go through the program each year, and how many are expected to go through this year? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. Sorry, tongue twisted.
Through the chair, this is a highly regulated, state-regulated program. They tell us how many people we should serve per year. The number is 400 and a bit more. That's the number of inmates that are supposed to be screened by our reentry teams. And then the number gets a little bit smaller as far as those who have to remain in the community after 45 days and those who should stay in the community after 90. So the numbers and the benchmarks are all set by the state of New York, and they've changed every year. But this year it's, I think, 444 or something like that.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Legislator
Lightfoot, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. I want to thank you for receiving this grant for this particular program. What my interest is at this particular point in time is, what are the statistics for the reentry program and the efforts to, what is New York State asking? I think I heard some of you answer some of those questions of what New York State is asking you, how many people are to serve per year, how many days they are out or do not violate parole over a certain amount of time. However, I will be interested myself in those types of reports that we are submitting to the state, I guess in efforts to gauge if we are being, if the program is successful are there any opportunities to be more successful, or is there something that something to have a good dialogue around? I think this would be a good conversation. However, I would take your advice on that through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, please.
Mr. Chairman, was there a question there?
Thank you.
Did you want to restate that, Legislator Lightfoot?
Yes. Do we give reports to the New York State on what we're doing for our people served, numbers served per year, or per every 6 months? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration. My apologies.
Sure. Through the chair, there are regular reports that we submit to Albany, and I believe they're public reports, and I can make those available. And there's significant data on the New York State DCJS website that provides information on parole recidivism rates, just as they provide arrest rates for police agencies and things of that nature. The state, our initial funding was $100,000. It's moved up, but it has stabilized in the last couple of years. There's no new money that we're aware of to grow these programs. Catholic Family Center has, I believe, 4 case managers to handle all of these offenders. But there's a good deal of data back and forth that I can make available if interested.
I do have an interest, and thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-160, acceptance.
Moved by Legislator McCann, second by Legislator Rocco. Any discussion? Legislator Broth?
Thank you. Through the chair of the administration, I do have a few questions about this grant. I'm confused by some of the numbers, but I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. But first, this is the 3rd year of the grant. Do we know why the funding was decreased by 40% this year? Was there a particular reason for that?
Through the chair, I believe you said decreased. The funding that was decreased is the actual award. This is like the last resolution. This is highly regulated by the state. They identify the dollar amount. It has been reduced every year for the past few years because the state has seen reductions in their federal allotment.
Thank you. And then through the chair of the administration, could you indicate how many people have been served in the program, perhaps just last year?
Through the chair, that has changed each year with the dollar amount. Our contract agency, the Kumba agency, can only serve what they feel that they have funding to hire consultants for. I believe there were 23 or 28 youth served last year, which actually is continuing. It's not completed yet. And for the next year, with the reduction in funding, we think 15 young offenders will be served.
Thank you. And then through the chair of the administration, do we have any way of indicating success as a benefit of this service?
Through the chair, success is also identified by our funding agency. It has to do with fewer arrests, more success in school, both with truancy and fewer suspensions, fewer placements in state facilities. All of those numbers have been trending in the right direction. We've seen these young people do better in their community, and they have been, I don't think we've seen any of these young men and women placed in a residential facility in the last few years. The rearrest numbers last year, I believe 3 were rearrested, and they were for misdemeanors, not for felonies.
Thank you. And through the chair of the administration, am I correct to think that Kumba consultants were the providers of this contract and fulfilled this grant the last 3 years?
Through the chair, that's correct. This was a request for qualifications, I believe 3 years ago. They won the award, and they're in what would be our last year of an extended contract. But yes, they are the contracts since the beginning.
Thank you. Now we're going to, if I may, the thing that confuses me, when we look at the amounts of money, we're awarded a grant for $20,863, but we're going to write a contract for $19,820. What's the reason for that difference?
Through the chair, the very small amount that does not appear in the contract helps to pay for one probation officer who manages this grant who supervises the juvenile delinquents who are referred to the program. That officer with salary and fringe obviously is much more than, I think, $1,800 or something, but we've used as much as we can to support the county probation officer position in the budget.
Thank you. And through the Chair of the Administration, finally, I note also we're required to match a cash fund of $2,318. Does that also go to support the probation officer then?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you much.
Legislator Lightfoot.
Once again, full of great things today. This is an awesome day. This is the first time, through you, Mr. Chairman, that I can recall in my 7 years here that this is actually dollars that are going to someone in my district, a program in my district for $19,820. That is incredibly awesome for me. So I'm excited for this, and thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item carries, I'm sorry. Next item, please.
Referral 13-173, confirmation of the appointment of the director.
Moved by Legislator Rocco, second by Legislator Yolovich. And oh, I'm sorry, and Legislator Lightfoot. Any discussion? Oh, okay. Actually, I'd like to take a minute to welcome Chief David Moore to the Public Safety Committee. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us here today and to discuss your appointment as Monroe County's new Director of Public Safety. At this time, I would like to offer Chief Moore an opportunity to address the committee if he would like.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Certainly, it's quite an honor to be here in front of you, Mr. Chair, and also our legislative body. This is, quite frankly, a capstone on what I call a very lengthy career. As you know, I have the opportunity to serve as police chief in 3 different states, and topping that off, having the opportunity to be the chief here in Rochester for 5.5 years. But this truly today is it's an opportunity for me to take that next step and pull together a great team that's been doing a wonderful job throughout the county. And taking the next step, as I stated, as a capstone on my career. I'm extremely excited about it, and certainly giving thanks to our county executive, Maggie Brooks, for having the opportunity, or taking that bold step to provide me with such an awesome responsibility. I'm looking forward to this confirmation process, and very excited about getting started next week.
Thank you, Chief Moore. Legislator Rocco?
Yes, I'd like to just highlight a couple points, of your career, Chief Moore. That we had an opportunity to review your resume, and we see that you have a vast experience in the public safety with knowledge of municipalities and police agencies, and as my voice doesn't carry, huh? As well as the public sector, that we feel will provide a valuable understanding for your director of the public safety. As it states, currently you're the director of the public safety for MCC, where you've worked with first responders. We know that you're a proven leader, and with your 20 years of law enforcement experience and your vast knowledge. We know that you're also a service-orientated individual who promotes positive organizational values, applies logical and creative approaches to the problem resolution, and we know that you're also an experienced public speaker with strong communication and presentation skills. I also look forward to you joining us here in the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Legislator Lightfoot.
Sure, I want to say ditto, number 1. Number 2, to you, Mr. Chairman. I know David Moore. I know his wife. I've cut his hair. He's a good man. So, got my support 150%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Legislator Brough.
Thank you. Through the chair, David Moore, I first want to welcome you, and I'm actually very excited as well. I note that you're expressed excitement yourself, and you're excited to take that next step. And I have a lot of confidence you're going to be able to achieve that next step. I guess my question is, what do you feel are the next steps? What are your immediate goals heading into this new and exciting role? Because you do bring a wealth of experience from a huge background, and clearly you have ideas. I'm curious as what do you think are the most important ones to approach in your first year of office or term?
Yes, and Mr. Chair, I'm in a very fortunate position, having been here for 7.5 years, directly involved in public safety, where I've not only partnered with our former Director of Public Safety, Steve Bowman, and actually worked with Steve very collaboratively, and also being joined at the hip with the next generation of interoperability in terms of our technology, in terms of our communications. So I've actually seen the steps that are being taken by public safety over the last several years. And I'm very excited to continue on that same path. And like any new leader coming into an organization, I want to spend quality time with those great leaders, the supervisors who are here in place that have done a phenomenal job, as you know, and learn from them, and then gauge my short, intermediate, and long-term goals. Number one, collaboration. I think it's very, very important that we collaborate with all of our law enforcement, our public safety, our emergency medical individuals that are here in the county, to make sure that they're getting those resources that are very critical to the operation here at Monroe County. And of course, I've been a part of the interoperability process, ensuring that all of us can speak to one another and communicate with one another with technology. Just a few of those things that I would be paying particular attention to. But I'm very interested in hearing about, from my leadership, priorities. My own priorities certainly is taking it to the next level in terms of public safety here in the county.
Thank you. And then as one last follow-up question, because again, I have a lot of faith in your ability to do this. In your judgment, what do you think is one of the first challenges, aside from acclimation and learning, I'm not going to say learning the ropes, but becoming more familiar with the day-to-day operations? What are some of the challenges you believe need your attention?
Well, certainly, you look at my resume, I'm very much involved in emergency operations, very much involved with tactical operations. One area where I really want to be joined at the hip is, quite frankly, in our fire service. I cannot wait. My son is a firefighter, part-time in Maryland, and he is really rooting for that priority for me to pay particular attention to our firefighters. That is an area I'm very excited about, and like any leader who has that need should pay particular attention to that area. That's what I plan on doing.
Thank you. And I just want to assure you that you have my wholehearted support. I'm looking forward to voting in your favor.
Thank you so much.
Twice.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Is there any unfinished business to come before this committee? Seeing none, there being no further business, the May 20th, 2013 meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held on June 24th, 2013 at 5:30 p.m.